everybody who's like sort of back moves up a little bit, because we are kind of talking a hands-on community project thing, not a let's sit in the back of the room thing. Sorry, people in the back of the room. And maybe we could close the doors as well, so because they're still out chit-chatting out there. And yeah, so it's a short session. We need to be done in 20 minutes. So this will be my speed version. So I'm Jean MacDonald. I'm the founder of AppCamp for Girls, and I know quite a few of you all already from my many happy times here at 360 IDEV. But some of you I don't know, and some of you don't know everything about AppCamp for Girls yet. And so I want to do a quick overview of what we do at camp, so you can get an idea of what the camp is like, and then I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Sarah Cloud here, also in an AppCamp shirt, to talk about some of the nuts and bolts of what it takes to actually start a camp, and what you should be thinking about if you're interested in starting one or helping some people start one, or just how camp works. And I should say, right off the bat, I know many people at 360 IDEV are great supporters of AppCamp for Girls, and the conference itself has always been a big supporter, and we really appreciate that. So our mission at AppCamp for Girls is to achieve gender equity in the software development business. That's pretty much straight and simple. I don't think I have to convince anybody here that we aren't even close to that goal yet, but we have to start somewhere. And we started with middle school girls. And the idea was to demystify the process of app building. And I think that's great for everybody, but especially for kids like girls and also transgender youth and gender non-binary youth who may not be geeks already and haven't played around with computers already, to show them that you could make an app. You do not need some like special juju to become a software engineer necessarily. It just takes somebody to break down the steps into something accessible for everyone. So we started with Alpha Camp. It was just 3 girls, just to test our concept and see how interested that the kids would be. And it turned out they just loved it. I was afraid. They made an app. You can kind of see it. It had like one field, and it had a button, and it basically added words. It was build your own dictionary app. They came up with the idea, and because they don't like the built-in dictionary, and they just started, adding words to it, and then it would just basically, generate cells in the table view with those words in it. And they thought it was just like the best thing ever. You can see like just how they're like hunched over it. We only had it on one phone, and they kept passing it around and adding words to it. And you can also see, it was all theirs. Like they set the background color to turquoise, and they set the headers to purple, and they used, funky fonts. I call AppCamp is leave no font behind. But that was all theirs, and they just had the best time. And that was just one day. It was really exciting. So we knew we had something we could build on. So we started this in Portland, Oregon, which is where I live, and there's quite a supportive tech community there. And then we went on. So this is Portland, June 2013. We went on, expanded to Seattle the next year. The year after, we actually had camp in Vancouver, British Columbia. We then had camps in Phoenix and in Orange County. Last year we had camp in Chicago, along with some of these other camps, Portland, Seattle, and Phoenix. And then this year we added a new location, which is Minneapolis. And every time we do a camp, it is a big production, which Sarah's going to talk a little bit about next, because so we haven't had we've had 6 years of camp in Portland and 5 years of camp in Seattle. Some of the other locations, have been like a couple years here on and then off, and we expect to come on and get back again. It really, a lot depends on the camp organizers and the volunteers that are available. So a week at camp starts with brainstorming. We do not just like jump into coding. We show the entire the entire app development process. We after brainstorming, we also do a lot of wireframing, and this was pretty fun. We had to kind of pin the tail on the UI board created. So how to figure out that's actually like a whiteboard, a magnetic whiteboard with magnetic UI pieces. Was a lot of fun. And they get to do a lot of drawing, which they really love. And actually, at this point, starting last year, we bought a set of iPad Pros and Apple Pencils for the camp, so that each kid could have an Apple, an iPad Pro and a pencil to work with. And that really, they were honestly, I kind of miss when they made their UIs in crayon and magic marker, but they do like the iPad Pro, so that we have more digital art these days than we used to. Each participant gets an iPod Touch to use for the week, so they can build their app to a device, so they can actually, test it out, and it can be real, and they can run around the room going like, look at, check out our app, try our app, and take it home and show their siblings and their friends and their parents. It's way better than just doing something in a simulator. I think we all know that, but man, with kids, I think the simulator camp would have kind of flopped after a year. So, we've developed very basic templates in Xcode for them to work with. So, and we teach them enough Swift so that they learn certain, functions and classes and commands that they can deduce from what other things. So what we really like to do. So for example, they do a calculator app, and we show them how to write an add function, and then the kid that made the add function, because they work in teams of 4, teaches the next one how to do the subtract function, and they can figure out that pretty darn quick, how to go from add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And they do all the artwork and make all the turquoise calculators that their hearts desire. But it's summer camp, so we do try to do fun things as well. We have done hula hooping. We've moved to some downtown locations lately in Portland and Seattle. It's not really conducive to hula hooping, so we're going to have to find some other activities. Yoga. It's really important to have a lot of breaks with physical activities built in, because otherwise you get really a whole camp of cranky kids. Although honestly, once they get going, they're like, no, but we haven't finished our buttons yet. We haven't finished this yet, And they would just sit there in front of the computer the whole time, some of them. They also make buttons. We don't have any of those buttons, but we each team has a logo, and they also have the icon for their app, and so we print those out, and then we actually own button makers. It's one of the more expensive pieces of equipment at AppCamp, and heavy, very heavy, and so that turns out to be a lot of fun as well. We do field trip. Favorite place in Portland is Panic. Basically every girl in this picture wants to work at Panic now, and they have no trouble balancing out their gender diversity in about 10 years, I would say. And then on the last day, we do a pitch session where the kids show off their apps for a panel of women investors, entrepreneurs, business leaders, engineers, who see the apps, and they ask them questions and try to get them to think about things they might do next with their work in computers. And people say like Shark Tank. No, it's not like Shark Tank. But somebody says it's who wins, and nobody wins. It's not like that at all. We don't call them judges. The panel, it's not judges. Like that sounds very judgy, and we don't judge because the ideas that they have go way beyond our limited adult ability to be creative. here, we take all the apps from the summer and we wrap them into one big app and submit it to the App Store, and it is 99 cents. There are 4 in the App Store right now. A 5th one will be out very soon. Please, if you buy it, please go and rate 5 stars. None of this, like, don't be judgy. It's AppCamp for girls. What's wrong with you? We had all 5-star reviews until today. I made the mistake of asking Sarah to check if we all still had them, and no, somebody gave the last app 1 star. What is wrong with that person? So they paid 99 cents for the privilege of giving it 1 star. And in fact, when we the first release of app, we were #1 in paid entertainment. That was very exciting. And we almost cracked the top 10 of paid apps in the App Store. We were like 12. We were dangling at 12. So that was pretty exciting. So yay, that's Girls in Tech at AppCamp. And I want to turn it over to Sarah now, who has her own microphone, so I don't have to unclip this one, to talk about some of, what the process is to get a camp started.
So the first thing that really needs to happen to start a camp is we need to have a volunteer that wants to run a camp. That's really the keystone to get us to a city, having at least one person that'll work year-round with us as the organizer to run camp. And then that person finds the location, helps to recruit other volunteers. In our volunteers, only one person in the room has to be an actual iOS developer. That's the person that we call the lead developer who teaches the curriculum. It's actually really great to have people from all types of tech jobs, because then the youth get a better understanding of all the pathways they can take. They might not be someone that's going to want to be a developer, but they might be drawn to the art or the business side or something like that, and just really opens up their eyes. We also love to have camp at tech companies that'll host us. This year, let's see, Receptionist hosted us in Portland, AVO in Seattle, and JAMF in Minneapolis. What's nice about that is that the youth get to come and see what it's like to work in a tech company. And then for some of them, they have no idea what that's like, so they can start to envision themselves being there and working there. So those are the things, those are the basics. At camp, we have the organizer, and we often have an operations person too, that both work kind of year-round. The developer instructor, each team of 4 youth has an adult that works with them to keep them on task. Then we have a design instructor that comes in and talks about design and the icon design and all of that, and a presentations coach that comes and gives them some tips so their presentation is really great. Some photos. So fundraising is definitely a part of what we need to do to get a camp there. The first summer tends to be a little more expensive than other summers, mainly because we send some people to help support and whatnot, so those travel costs. We also like the organizer to come to Portland or Seattle the year before they want to host a camp, so they can experience it and get a sense of what it's like and what challenges and highlights can be. And then equipment, we have, so each camp, each team has 2 MacBook Pros, one for design work and one for coding. Each youth has the iPod Touch and the iPad, so we store those and we ship them around the country. And then administrative overhead, and then things with like the local camp budget include stipends for our volunteers. We like to recognize that their time is valuable. It does not replace their wage working in tech, but it's at least a recognition that we can do. And then things like the notepads that we give the youth, lunches, and general just odds and ends here and there. So, does anyone have any questions?
Well, I should stay up here on the stage.
I I was just wondering, since you've been doing this now for a number of years, do you kind of keep track of how the girls progress after they leave camp?
Yeah, we do. So we've had 257 kids go through the program. And we survey them when they start on the first day, and then we also survey them when they leave, so we get that snapshot of how their attitudes change about what they want to do, and how very often more inclined to consider tech as a career, but also they pretty much all of them would recommend the camp to another kid, which is pretty great. And then we are just starting to collect that kind of year-over-year data. We do see the kids. We have a reunion day, and so they kind of gather and do lightning talks about what they're doing. Our first original campers from that 2013 just started college, so but we do know they do get in touch with us when they're doing stuff, so anecdotally we know there's a certain percentage of them that are continuing to pursue interesting opportunities in tech, and then we don't expect them all to become engineers, although we expect them all to become engineering friendly, and also have that feeling going into high school that they have an app in the app store. Nobody can pretty much nobody else in their tech class, none of the boys can say that. Well, that's anyway. Yes.
We actually have one of our early youth that she went through camp, went to high school, walked into the tech club. She was the only girl, and the boys asked her, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "I spent my summer building an app that's in the app store. What have you done?" So, but we also bring youth back as interns. So that's a way that they stay connected, and then they gain more skills, and they can kind of move up. Some are becoming more advanced in their ability to help be a project team lead, and things like that. They've had to fill in for adults, and they can do it, if an adult's sick. One of the original campers is now in college, a CS student, and she turned 19 at camp as one of our volunteers this year. So we do try to keep in touch with them.
Yeah, somebody has a question back there. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I'm an educator originally, high school and middle school teacher. I'm curious what kind of ongoing curricular activities you have for the campers that come through. Do you have year-round programming available, or some kind of subscription model, or have you thought about doing stuff like that?
So right now, we don't have a lot, but that's something we're starting to work on as we have more youth that have gone through the program. We want to start doing, since we have all this equipment, quarterly or so drop-in sessions, and have other projects that they can work on. So that's something we're starting to build and implement.
You mentioned partnering with tech companies. I wonder if you have ever partnered with other summer camps just to get ideas of how to be more accessible to kids and do cool stuff with them, and even have maybe programs that summer camps could follow along with your curriculum.
So we do try to partner with other community groups to find youth. One of our goals, we're looking to diversify tech. We charge $400 for our week of camp. A lot of other STEM camps are $1,000 or more a week. And personally, I don't believe you're going to diversify tech if you're charging that much for a kid to go to a week-long camp. And then we're very generous with scholarships because the iOS community has been very generous to us, so we can be generous to the kids and help them, get a taste and support them. So we haven't partnered with other camps because we have our own model and the way we do it. But one thing we're looking at is in some places, like in Rochester, New York, they'd like to have us come, and the Institute of Technology there would like to host us, and they host summer camps. So that might be something we look at doing in the future as a way, because they already have youth on campus for camps in the summer.
I was wondering, some of the guys come and maybe they don't really know anything about apps. Do they know like the difference between Android and iOS when they come?
They know the difference between iPhones and everything else. They definitely.
Well, now they're getting really savvy with like AirDrop and they're just like, we're like, well, do you need a drop? No, I got it.
Yeah.
Some come with really very little technical experience, and some have gone to other programs, or they might have a school that has a good program. So it can be really a mix in a room.
Yeah. I would say that we've had kids that never really used Macs before, right? Because they didn't have Macs at school or at home. But one of the main responsibilities of those project team managers, so that manage the group, they may not be iOS developers, but they're all hardcore Mac users who know their way around a menu and around the various utilities and stuff, so that they can work with the ones who have less experience and bring them forward. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Curious. Okay, no, I remember.
We could come back.
You mentioned fundraising. How much, in addition, do you need to raise in addition to the tuition?
The tuition is a symbolic number, based on pretty much, like we try to charge what you would pay for any week-long camp for your kid. But
On average, what does it cost?
the $10,000 is what I always work with as a number, but that's the number just for that week, like of that location's like consumables. Like that doesn't pay for the equipment. Obviously, I think we all know you don't get 6 MacBook Pros and 12 iPod Pros for $10,000. But yeah, so we need to have that. That's the cash flow that's needed for that week, plus for the camp overall. We have all the expenses of the equipment that's used everywhere, and the headquarters is a year-round operation. It's not like we close down. Sorry, you know that, right?
Yeah,
So this is Sarah's first year, and we threw her at the deep end, starting by going to WWDC in June, and then it's just been camp, and I think she knew that we didn't take off for the rest of the year until next summer.
My post-camp to-do list is still pretty long.
But did you want to?
Around 10,000 for what's there. And then we look for sponsors. We love to have a camp sponsor or two at 5,000, and then companies or folks can sponsor each team at $1,000 each. So that helps to offset some of the costs too in each city. It is certainly something that we're looking to do more fundraising in the cities that we're in connecting with more companies and making that happen.
Yeah.
I can chill out. Are
Okay.
you 501c3?
Yes.
And I'm a local, so anything come up in Denver in terms of interest in starting one up?
I come to this every year, and I talk to a couple of people who might be interested at some point. I think we could have one in Denver. It'd be easy for us. You're not far from Portland. It's so there's interest, but there hasn't been somebody who said, okay, I want to organize this. That's the thing that we need. But
All of our volunteers in the actual room with the youth are female or women, transgender or gender nonconforming, so that they have role models there. And it creates just a different experience and atmosphere too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think, I could see us in Denver in 2 or 3 years possibly, but, you know, not making any promises. But,
You say all women,
Okay.
does that include, I mean,
What's that?
does that include the iOS developer?
Yes. We'll take one last question and then we gotta wrap it up.
It's actually not a question.
Oh.
I'll just talk before just an idea. So I asked about the subscription model thing because I know a company in California that's they're a for-profit business, but they're like a gym for coding essentially for kids, and they hire college kids to come in and teach the classes and pay them a decent hourly rate, and then you have to pay like I think $60 a month or something, and they have like a subsidy program for people who can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing they do is they license out their curriculum. So they've like gone
Yeah.
with the videos and stuff. And I would personally be interested in like supporting something like that from a nonprofit standpoint, you know, and being able to like just have an out of the box curriculum that I could learn and teach.
Yeah.
I'm not an iOS developer actually, I'm a Rails developer, but
Mhm.
I could learn something pretty quick and teach it to kids ongoing throughout the year if I just had access to it.
Mhm.
All the stuff you've mapped out of like how to execute camp,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually the hard part. If you just like license it out to me and then I can fill my
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely something that's been on our radar. And in fact, we did last year a major strategic planning process with our board and with the community. And that what you're describing is on the roadmap. But as you say, it is the hardest part to do, and we have it, but we don't have it like in the kind of, you know, where we say, here you go, it's all you need, here's the box. That's been the ideal, but it's not. That is not easy, and it would, you know, would require us actually spending money on curriculum, you know, development. But anyway, we could talk about this after we're done. So I really appreciate everybody coming, and if, you know, Sarah and I are going to be here today and tomorrow too, and so feel free to just grab us if you have any other questions, and we will see you around. Thanks.
And I have swag buttons and pins.
Oh yeah, well, she has all the swag, and she's the swag meister. They have way more swag than when I was in charge. Thank you.
So what's the hardest part about the model for you guys? Like, is it getting students or is it finding guys to
It's getting volunteers. Is the I mean, because that everything runs off of that. So.